And we're live. So, Patrick, I wanted to get you on to actually discuss this pilgrimage a little bit because my wife keeps asking me a million questions about what we're doing, and I figured that you know way more than I do because you've been there several times, right?
Yeah, I've been to Italy probably 7 times in total for either pilgrimages or other family trips. I first went there in 1995 for a Fifth Marian Dogma conference that was led by Deacon Mark Miravalle. I was there with Scott Hahn and a bunch of other people. That was 95. That was my first exposure, encountering the beauty that is Italy. Every town, every village, every city. I was just saying this offline. If you close your eyes and spin around, wherever you open them, you're going to look at a absolutely spectacular building, church, fountain, piazza. Half the younger buildings in Italy are much older by centuries than the oldest buildings here in America, even including the Franciscans. So it's a terrific walk back in history just from that point of view alone. Forget Catholic saints, shrines, and holy places. But yeah, I love it. It's my number 2 place. My absolute ground zero favorite destination, of course, is the Holy Land, which we're going to be going in the future once things sort of quiet down there. There's been a bit of a skirmish there in the last couple of years. I forget what it was.
I think it is kind of dangerous to actually go to the Holy Land right now. But yeah, I've never been to Italy. I have no idea what to expect. I am looking forward to the whole idea of it being a pilgrimage and not just a vacation in Italy, though, because I'm kind of in desperate need of a turning off of everything that's going on in the digital world and just get a little bit of a spiritual rejuvenation.
A pilgrimage is kind of an extended Sabbath to your year. We treat them like retreats. They're not tours. We do not stay in Ritz-Carltons. We don't eat 5-star, Michelin award-winning food. The food is, it's Italy. Come on. You can't get a bad meal in Italy unless you try really hard. So it's somewhere well above youth hostel level and a little bit below 5-star Ritz-Carlton. So our hotels are safe, comfortable. They are well appointed. The food is unbelievable. We work directly with operators and restaurateurs and tour guides who are all vetted by us. Myself and Eugenio Zambrano, my tour operator partner, who's going to be with us, by the way. So he's very, very hands-on, and he knows the kind of the business spine of it. I'm more the pretty face on the bus and telling people what's coming up next. Do you want to do kind of a quick overview of the cities and the sites?
Yeah, let's actually just, if anybody is interested in coming, this is the contact info. So you're going to contact Allie. The phone number is 775-340-6047. Her email is allie.ontheway@gmail.com. We're going from December 2nd to December 15th. We're pitching it as Advent in Italy. And I definitely want to know have you ever been to Italy during Advent?
No, I've been there in the fall and the spring, but not during Advent. The Norbertine Abbey sometimes will sponsor people just after Christmas time. We find that hard to sell to families because most people want to stay stateside and wherever they are, stay home with their family. So this is it's far enough away from Christmas that you're not hitting any Christmas lineup in terms of airline prices, and certainly the tour destination lineups are much lower because most people love Italy in the summer and the spring for obvious reasons. The weather is pretty beautiful, but the winters are very clement. Benign, and the Italians love Christmas. So every little nook, every piazza in pretty much every town is going to be bedecked for the coming of our Savior. And Italy, we can make fun of the cultural Catholicism only, but there is this nascent kind of subsurface Catholic spirit to Italy. You can see this in family celebrations. You can see it in the reverence for architecture. And I love talking about church architecture when we go on these pilgrimages, because the people who inspired these ideas, the thinkers behind the structure of buildings down to every little detail, they created these buildings and these churches and these, even the plazas are made knowing that the end user, like the just Joe Public or Josephine Public, they're made in God's image and likeness. They are adopted sons of the King of the universe. So everything has this default elegance. Like in Italy, it's very hard to find an American style, purely functional garbage can with a lid and ugly. It's wrought iron, and there's like a wooden handle. Everything's kind of extra dignified. And I love the tradition of the afternoon riposo. It's very civilized. Have a little nap if you're tired. And there's a relaxed, nascent Catholic spirit there. Many churches, and especially in the smaller towns and outlying areas away from Napoli and Turin and Milano, Venice, and Rome, churches are full. So there is a kind of a public recognition. Now, how catechized they are is a different question, but it's not like Italy. It's not like the churches are empty there.
My wife has been bugging me to do something like this, that we will actually go through what this trip is going to be. Like to actually go through it, because she's very excited about going too. And she's like, you guys should just sit down and just talk about the trip itself. And then if anybody is interested, they could just actually listen to what we're going to be doing. So what will be the highlights of this trip?
Well, because there's so many things, I can't do any better than go through the actual itinerary. If people want to, you and I are both pretty active on this on Twitter. We have a shorter version of the itinerary, which gives you the summary, all the kind of high points. Right off the bat, we want people, first of all, they're spending hard-earned money. They're investing the most important, precious thing they have, which is their time. So we don't have this, you land in Rome and have a nap for 9 hours. No. When you sleep in Rome, we recommend, we've got a bunch of traveler pilgrimage hacks recommending things like melatonin for sleep. So you really want to sleep on that airplane from no matter which country you begin with. So when we wake up in Rome, we're ready to go. So the day one is, let me just check it out here. We start at St. Paul outside the walls. Which is the burial place of St. Paul. So we're starting where St. Paul's body is. So we're going to reverence the body of the greatest apostle, greatest evangelist in history, St. Paul, second after Scott Hahn, of course. That's a joke. The chapel has, hey, Scott, if you're out there, the chapel has a whole bunch of relics. The chains of St. Paul are displayed in a reliquary there at the church. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the chains that held St. Paul are there. These were used in the last few days before his execution by beheading. Then we go to the Appian Way and we visit the catacombs, and we go underground. And this is where the early church flourished out of fear of the Caesars, Nero, Diocletian. Unlike today, where there's an underground church out of fear of the bishops, back then it was fear of the emperors. So this is where the forbidden masses were held, and it's really kind of it's a bit eerie being so far below the surface of the earth, and you see how these chapels were lovingly carved out of the earth. Sometimes at their peril. They weren't always safe. They weren't designed with 20th century, engineering. And then we have lunch, and then the afternoon we hit the Pantheon. The Pantheon is the best preserved ancient monument in the world. It's let's see, the dome is equal in diameter to the circular interior. It's kind of a wonder of ancient architecture. Then we go to the most famous fountain in Europe, of course, the Trevi Fountain. You toss a coin or two into the world's wishing well to ensure your trip back to Rome. Every time I go there, I do the eye close thing at Trevi Fountain. And then we go to Piazza Navona, which is the detail of this public plaza with its statues and its small waterfalls and
this is also day one.
This is day one. So we've just arrived. And then we're going to see Bernini's Fountain of the Four Rivers. A lot of famous architects like Bernini and Michelangelo also designed public monuments and buildings, as we see. It's not just inside churches. It's not just inside St. Peter's. So the second day, that's the Vatican. We're going to go to St. Peter's Square. We're going to visit the Sistine Chapel. So you're going to get to look up and see a jaw-dropping detail of maybe the greatest piece of art in the world occupying the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Then we visit St. Peter's Basilica, which is the largest church on earth, over which it's built over the bones of St. Peter, directly below the main altar of St. Peter. That's where the first pope is buried. We're going to see the Pietà. We're going to see the all kinds of art from Giotto and Bernini, and then back to the hotel, dinner, overnight in Rome. So really the first 2 days are a wall-to-wall Rome. No, excuse me. We have 3 days in Rome. My bad. Rome is sort of, even if you spend 2 years in Rome, At the
You're
end of
not
2 years, you're just beginning to scratch the white of the surface of the eggshell.
Yeah, I would imagine.
We're going to see the Arch of Constantine, the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, the Mamertine prison where Peter was baptized and made all those converts inside prison. We're going to visit there. The Capitoline Hill, Piazza Venezia, with the incredible. Just look up the King Vittor Emmanuel II and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. These are just wonders of Italian architecture. Then St. John Lateran, which is called the Cathedral of Rome. It's the first great Christian church built next to the Lateran Palace, which was a gift to Emperor Constantine. Then to one of the most, for my money, one of the most beautiful churches among the hundreds of really like top level beautiful churches, Santa Maria Maggiore, St. Mary Major in Rome. It's just so, there's no words for it. You have to get there. So it was built on the spot where a 3rd century Pope witnessed a miraculous midsummer snowfall. So we'll actually maybe have a little light snowfall, so we won't need the winter miracle there. Then back to the hotel, dinner overnight in Rome. And then we go straight to Monte Cassino with this beautiful Benedictine monastery, the older version of which was bombed by our side during World War II. Then we go straight to San Giovanni Rotondo, where we learn about St. Padre Pio. Foggia, we learn about this great modern saint.
Do they have his relics there?
Yeah, his remains are there in a glass reliquary, but there's some controversy about Padre Pio's mortal remains. He's not a true incorruptible. His body was embalmed, and it's got, let's just say it had some help. But yeah, we're certainly going to be there.
Yeah, I don't think all the saints are incorruptible. I think that's one thing that could be for a saint. So
yeah, well, the St. Teresa of Avila's body was just exhumed the last time since I think World War I era. Now I love it's kind of the macabre, charming feature of being a Catholic. I love relics, bones, and it's not morbidity. It's a reminder that death is knocking and death is inevitable, like taxes.
Mori.
Memento mori. Yeah.
Yeah, her body is, that's interesting because I posted a little video of it, and they exhumed her body, and they're like, she's still incorrupt. Now she's not really fully incorrupt. Like, she doesn't look like, she's just corrupting at a much slower rate than would occur in nature. So
yeah, she definitely qualifies. She's not going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
She looks like a mummy, but it should be it shouldn't even be dust at this point.
Yeah.
Given the fact that she died in the early medieval period. Same with, in France too, you can see Saint Bernadette Soubirous. She's much more lifelike. She died at age 35, and it looks like she's having a nap. You're literally 5 feet away from her. It's very, very moving. A lot of people shed tears when they walk into that chapel. There's a palpable peace there.
So okay, so now we're at the San Giovanni. Now, do we spend the whole day in San Giovanni Rotondo?
Yes, we are overnight there. So a day and a half there. We're going to see the Monte Gargano and the sanctuary. We'll see the confessional where Padre Pio changed lives. The exact where he was, where he knelt, where the sinners knelt, the spot in the church, the crucifix before which he received his stigmata when he was a young novice, and then that's overnight. Then we go to Lanciano, and that's the site of the very first Eucharistic miracle, the miracle of Lanciano. This took place in the 8th century, and during Holy Mass, after the twofold consecration, the host was changed into living human flesh, which I believe had universal, I think it was O positive blood
donor.
Living blood. And then free time for lunch. Then we go to Loretto, which is not too far from Lanciano, and that's the Holy House of Loretto. Now, this is a really cool thing. Look up the Holy House of Loretto, Loreto. This is a stone structure that features simple primitive architecture, and in between the bricks, between the stone masonry, there are bits of plant as grout, right? Which only come from Palestine. So the strong small t tradition is that Holy House of Loretto was carried aloft from Nazareth, where the Blessed Mother received the angel Gabriel, which gave us the incarnation, with one stopover, and ended up in Loretto, Italy. Now,
there's a documentary about it on if anybody wants to check it out, there's a documentary about it on Amazon Prime that's worth watching.
Oh, great. Well, people who sign up, we're going to send them a cache of just kind of background things, and that's a really good idea. Note to
Yeah.
self, Lanciano. Like the Porciuncula small chapel in Assisi, which is built beneath another structure known as the Basilica there in Assisi, there's also the Cathedral of Loretto. And so you walk in the church, and there's this smaller structure, which is the Holy House. So cool. Because our faith, I know you know, Anthony, our faith is incarnational. To Catholicism, matter matters. We don't follow doctrines. Although we have doctrines, we don't follow programs. We don't follow an ideology. We follow a person, and that person, our Lord Jesus Christ, took flesh, and so He sanctified the world by His presence. He blessed the waters of the Jordan when He was baptized, not the other way around. So there's all these physical material reminders.
And living in America, we have there's no connection in America to the ancient faith like this. So going to Italy, you're actually you're talking St. Paul and Peter were both martyred in Rome, and that's that's where we're starting. So
yeah, correct. Yeah. Then we go to Cascia. You may have heard of Saint Rita of Cascia. She's another saint of the impossible. Her body is incorrupt. We'll be venerating her body there, including some relics, including the crucifix from which she received the stigmata. So that's 2 stigmatists within 2 days. Then we really start exploring Assisi. So we go through the mountains of the Umbrian Way. We stay overnight in Assisi, and then every time I'm in Assisi, I think to myself, why didn't I just spend the whole time here again? It's so palpably peaceful there. Just do a Google image of Assisi. There's like a 120-mile vista overlooking the north side of the mountain. The streets are 12th century design. You can almost hear the clip clop of horses. And this is where St. Francis and St. Clare launched their ministry, and their friendship was formed there. There's a upper and lower basilica there on the brow of the mountain. So we're gonna really take our time in Assisi, learn everything we can to know. We can find out in a couple of days about the great Saint Francis, the first known stigmatist, by the way, in history. So it's nice to see Padre Pio and then go to the original, the OG stigmatist.
I think St. Paul was a stigmatist, but we'll save that for another show.
Okay, well, I'm open. I like evidence. So then we go to the St. Damiano convent, where he first got his calling in 1205. This is where St. Clare died in 1253, not 1973, 1253. We'll visit his tomb and the Grand Baroque Basilica, and then back overnight in Assisi. And then we have a full day in Laverna, another section of the Appian Mountains, the Umbrian Mountains, excuse me. So Laverna, the Via Crucis. This is going to be a kind of an exploratory day with lots of teaching. The site where St. Francis received his stigmata. And then the next morning we head to Orvieto, say goodbye to Assisi. Then we go to Orvieto, which is perched high on this huge chunk of volcanic rock called Tufa. The church there is just so beautiful. We're going to see the linen of Bolsena. That's another Eucharistic miracle. That's a really interesting one. The skeptical priest in 1264 was on pilgrimage, and he kind of lost his faith. He was thinking about getting laicized, and he decided to, with the encouragement of the pilgrims, he said Mass. And during the consecration, the wine changed into blood and spilled down his hands, and it spilled on this linen cloth on the altar. We're going to see that linen cloth with our own eyes. Yeah. Pope Urban IV transferred the Holy Linen from Bolsena to Orvieto, and that is why we have the Feast of Corpus Christi, because of this miracle that we'll be seeing. That's the origin of the feast, the universal feast of the Church of the body of Christ.
What day are we up to?
We're up to day 4, I guess. No, excuse me. Day 10.
Yeah, I was going to say,
10.
we've gotten a lot in.
We're packing in. Yeah, it's day 11. So day 11, from the 11th to the 12th, it's Assisi and then Orvieto, and then we head to Siena. Siena is beautiful for a whole other different set of reasons. We're going to see the church where the head of St. Catherine of Siena is. We'll learn about her life, her dialogues, the fact that she corrected the great Saint Vincent Ferrer, because there was an anti-pope controversy at the time. Saint Ferrer was encouraging people to follow Pope Clement VII. He was actually an anti-pope, and this unlettered laywoman from Siena named Catherine corrected him and said, no, the real pope is Urban VI in Rome. He's the one that we should be following. We're also going to see a Eucharistic miracle there. It's in the church of I think it's called the Church of St. Francis, and it's a glass reliquary. You have to go in a side chapel and I think up a set of stairs, like a step stool, to see this glass chalice filled with hosts that should have dissolved centuries ago. They had been stolen by a thief and shoved into the poor box. And that's just one of the more lesser known Eucharistic miracles in Siena.
Yeah.
So then Firenze, Florence, cradle of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
This is we're going to have a guided walking tour of the whole city. It's the city of Dante, Boccaccio.
Dante's
Yeah.
from Florence, right?
Yeah, Botticelli, Leonardo da Vinci, they're all Florentines. We're going to learn about the rivalry between the Siena and the Florentine families and all the bad popes that we kind of secretly treat like
Machiavelli's from
like
there, right?
That's right. Machiavelli, I think, was also Florentine.
Yeah.
Giotto's Campanile and the Easter of the baptistry. It's just, what can you say about Florence? Yeah. Florence is sort of like Prague in that you can plunk down a movie camera pretty much anywhere in the city of Florence and do a 360, and you're not gonna see any power lines, and it's just,
I'm so excited.
Almost perfectly preserved.
I can't believe we're going.
Yeah. So it's 11 nights in, I would say 4, but not 5-star hotels. Breakfasts and dinners are all included, 3-course meal, including water, airport transfer.
All that's included.
All that's included. Every entrance fee. Yeah. So here's what's included: the hotel stays, bed and board, breakfasts, dinners, water, airport transfer everywhere between airports and hotels, no matter where we are. English-speaking guide upon arrival at the airport. All our local guides are perfectly fluent in English, vetted by us for Orthodox Catholic faith. Any tour mentioned in the itinerary, all city council taxes, all the entrance fees for all the catacombs, the Colosseums, all the cathedrals and churches, all included. Booze, not included. Yeah. Gifts, not included. And tips to our guides. But especially we say the most important guy on the bus is the driver. Yeah. And we always hire really, wonderful drivers. So folks can see the shorter version of the itinerary on my Twitter feed at Coffin Media. And you're at Catholicism with a Z instead of an S, right? There's a 1 and a 1 and a 1. Got you.
1. Yeah, it's right up on the screen. Yeah, we both have the itinerary posted on our Twitter if you guys want to check it out.
Just you mentioned the reality of pilgrimages and why they're important, independent of the fact that we're going to Italy and that we want people to join us on this particular event. It's very important to at least once a year unplug. Just think of it as an extended dance remix Sabbath, where you remove yourself from your regular flow of, sunrise, sunset, paycheck, routine, favorite coffee shop, and you get a unique angle on your life when you step outside the regular river of that life. You get to see things you never noticed before, and proximity to these holy sites changes you. Yeah. You see that our faith is incarnational. You see that generations and generations and generations of past Catholics, that what Chesterton called the democracy of the dead. It's really a shot in the arm to be there, especially St. Peter's. A quick story about my good friend Ted Sri, Dr. Edward Sri. I went to school with Ted. He was always the big Bible leader. I remember I was part of his Matthew's Gospel Bible study. He was always miles ahead of me. Very, very sharp guy. One of my favorite humans. And Ted's father, I think I can share this story. Ted's father is Buddhist with a Thailand background. And he took his father to visit St. Peter's when his dad visited him when he was doing his doctorate degree from the Angelicum in Rome. And they walked through there's a main kind of the vestibule of St. Peter's is as large as many big churches in America. Just the entrance, the antechamber to the main Basilica. So you go through there, and there's art on either side, and it's all kind of larger than life. Then you go through the Holy Door in the center. And as you walk up the aisle, that iconic view of the Bernini columns and the baldachinos and the soaring pillars. So Ted's talking with his dad, and Dad, there's the Pietà to the right, and Bernini designed all the shafts of light to accommodate where he knew the sun would hit. This was all pre-done before they laid one brick upon another. And a few minutes later, his dad's not there, and you look back, and his father was at the door. So Ted goes back, Dad, what are you doing? And he saw his father, and his father was in tears. Dad, what's wrong? And he said, for the first time, I understand why you love theology so much. I've never seen something so beautiful.
Yeah, we forget that beauty actually is an evangelization tool. Like it really does. There's something transcendent about it that lifts our hearts to God, and that could call a person home to him.
Yeah, Dostoevsky's character in his novel The Idiot said that famously. In the future, man would be saved by beauty. And to me, Italy is beauty central. You know?
So okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. We'll probably both post it on both of our channels. I'll figure out a way to do that, and we're going to go and do an actual show right now. So we're gonna end this, and you have the link for the other one, and we'll I'll see you over there.
Yeah, good gift idea too. Come, bring your spouse.
Oh, yeah, that would be
good Christmas gift.
Oh,
yeah, we're back.
I would love to see couples come, and I would, anybody that wants to come. I think it's going to be such an enjoyable experience to just spend time together like this. I'm hoping we get all different, groups of people coming.
No laughing though, huh, Anthony? Didn't we take a vow?
This whole trip is going to be filled with joy and tears.
Super pious. No.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right, good man. Thanks for your time. That's cool.